So, hello everybody. Welcome to the next interview for the BeeWyzer Masterclass. The other people from the conference just leaving to a catamaran cruise, but I'm keeping you two here, Jeremy Cheng and Marshall Yen. So I'm sorry to keep you, but we'll do a quick interview. The three of us plus other nextgens, we've been on a panel discussion yesterday, and I'm really catching up now on some of the issues, so it's great to have you here. Jeremy, you are at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, teaching family governance, family office stuff, and Marshall, you are there too, working with Jeremy, but you are also a nextgen with your own family business, and you are a family business advisor. So they both know each other well, we know each other for quite some time. So Jeremy, we discussed in the panel financial education for the next generation to get them involved in the family business. So family engagement is a big issue in that subject. How do you see that for families? How do you do that in China? How can you get the family engagement in short?
As always, I think the most important thing for families is to engage the rising generation. And to do this, it's just it could be very difficult, but then it could be also very easy. But then the hard way first. So we're always talking about systems to engage the rising generations by offering them different opportunities in the structures that we are talking about, like family council, family office, or the owners councils, something like that.
So the structure as a family governance, a family constitution, family office, indeed. And
right. But the most important thing is really to engage them to make real decisions. Of course, they would not be able to start off, joining the decision-making body at the very beginning and make decisions already. They have to sit back and then learn the culture. I think this is the major difference between, the West and the East. So we always like to see our rising generation to be quiet.
Well, and Marshall, if I say that, just said, who is going to speak first? He said the older person is going to speak first. So
the more senior.
There's a lot of traditions. And how did you experience the succession process in your family and your family business?
For us, in our family business, there's honestly not much succession going on. And actually, that is the reason why I left the family business. To pursue helping other families, because I understand absolutely from my personal experience how difficult it is to have any sort of forms of succession if there's no alignment, there's no communications, there's no structure, there's nothing between the two generations. And that's why I'm very happy that Jeremy took me under his wing to join the Center for Family Business at Chinese University of Hong Kong, and that's where I deviated to becoming a family business advisor. Now, because I know exactly how difficult it is to have any form of succession in China, and there's different parts of China too. There's northern China. To keep it simple, there's northern China and there's the southern China, right? And I'm not even including Hong Kong and Macau. The form of succession needs to start with just going back to the very basic. How do you open up the communication channel between the senior generation and the next generation, right?
Or even 2 or 3 generations. In some
exactly. If there are families who started a business right after war, then yes, we are experiencing wealth that's transitioning into the third generations. And in our panel, actually, we talked about, that was actually one of the questions, like, how do you do it, right? Because the sophistication level is not up there yet. And actually, let me take one step back. At least the clients or the prospect that I've been coming across are very denial or very rejected of new concepts. So when I talk about
and the family office concept is new, I guess, or the
right
still, or is it more developing also?
Not even into the family office, but like family constitutions, family assembly, family council. They're like, we don't need all that. And why that is because the senior generations of mainland China is so focused on the business part of things that they look at everything as a shareholder value, right? Everything is shareholding. Everything is about profit. Everything must have a cost benefit, and they don't come to that higher level of engagement where we talk about the sophistication of the family, getting ready, getting the next gen ready. The next gen are actually all very smart, and because of the resources from the senior gen, that they have gotten a very golden opportunity to explore themselves around in a globalization age. But at the same time, the senior gen continues his action at a regional and domestic area
and does not want to give away the power. Would that be something? I mean, that's usual also in Europe, but it's surely the same for a strong patriarchal Chinese founder, is it?
Yeah. Exactly. And so from a family business advisor point of view, the first thing that you need to solve is how do you get the senior gen sophistication and intelligence level to match the next gen, because the next gen knows a lot more, but the power that's being held, it's still within the senior gen.
Sure.
I'll pass it to
I'm sure Jeremy has thoughts on that to add. Huh?
Well, to me, it's just not really about the knowledge level. And of course, the current generations and the rising generation, they have very different body of knowledges. And the former generation, the current generation, usually they are street smart, and then they may not be having a degree, especially when we're talking about mainland China in the current generation. But then, they go through all the experience, and this is the hardest part to tell the kids. Well, I know this, I know that, and then I make decisions of this because of that. So, but then at the same time, the rising generation, they're really well educated in the West, and this create the asymmetry in a way. And it's just really about understanding the thinking of each other. That matters most. And then, we talk about family communication before, but then it's just really to provide a platform and then facilitate a platform to allow them to exchange their real thoughts and then to give voice to both generations together.
And I know you published quite a bit on those subjects. Anything you want to mention specifically, Jeremy or Marshall, the case study book that you did, or anything relating to that you want to mention? Or?
Well, let me start off first, a little bit on the case book, perhaps. So this was an interesting one by the STEP project, by the way, and then we have 20-something cases in the case book. I think one of the general observations from around the globe is basically all families have certain type of issues, and we all know that. So, and of course the debate is whether these issues are universal or not. But then what we see is families always need to tailor their own journey and their own so-called governance system to fit their own development. That is, I would say,
so
the major
individual solutions. Absolutely, yeah. Let's pass it maybe over. I mean, I know we could discuss for hours here. We've had great panels, so Marshall. But to conclude already, I think, how would you see what is a good way for financial education or for preparing the next gens? Is it really just doing the governance? Is it finding a family office structure, or what is it for you from your experience that you've had?
Is this on a regional level, like the China level, Hong Kong level? Yeah. I think there's two quotes or two phrases that I want to maybe bring up from in order to answer this question. One is 富不過三代, and 富不過第三代 means that wealth does not transcend beyond the third generation. That's one of the biggest myths in China. The other one is 時勢造英雄. So that's about whether the global policy or the country policy creates heroes, creates new billionaires, or whether people are self-made, then it changes the policy of the country. Yeah. At a regional level, I think it's very much affected top down. So when there is a policy that comes down, it creates new sorts of billionaires, new sorts of heroes, new sorts of idols. And when we talk about financial literacy, that's definitely from top down, right? Because whether if it's digital currency or e-payments or e-commerce, right? These are all policy that to reinforce the economy. And same thing with family office. Now there's a huge policy in Hong Kong on establishing family office, and the sub branch of that is financial literacy, because it's very investment heavy base. It's about
has to be after all.
Exactly, it has to be. So because there is that relationship between businessmen and the government, financial literacy, I think, comes from top down.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I mean, Marshall, thanks so much. Jeremy, we had another panel discussion on family office setup, and I know one of your sentences is that the family office can create new opportunities for the next gen. What is your concluding view on what the best or what a good financial education and preparation for next gens would be?
Right. Actually, I want to respond to what Marshall mentioned, and it also bridges to what your question about family office creating opportunities for the rising generation. Well, think of the next gen. If they could not cater for themselves, if they don't have the financial freedom, how can they be prepared to contribute their effort to the family or to the family business? So this is the first point that families have to think about, how they should invest in growing that financial literacy to make sure that the rising generation has the freedom needed. And this is the first point. And back to the family office itself, it is an opportunity. So from our research, we saw that, there are two types of the career patterns that are related to family office. The first thing is really for the rising generations to manage the portfolio of investment. It could be startup, it could be other investments, and that makes them interest in contributing to the family itself, staying in the system, and then at the same time they may be managing the family business. So that is the first career path, demanding and not always satisfied, but it is happy. And it is, in a way, happier than simply working in the family business itself. The second one is really a professional career in family office, what we call a professional family officer. And in that particular dimension, they help the family to work on the governance stuff, philanthropy stuff, and then keeping the family together in terms of unity. And then, in the past, this kind of roles is not compensated. Now, it is a professional job that allows them to, have a better engagement, time commitment, and resources to their own development. So I think this is how families should consider creating those positions and engaging the rising generation themselves.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I've kept you away from the concluding drinks of the STEP Project Global Conference, and we are sorry to everybody listening to this. There was speedboats driving around here in Valencia, so we can relax now. Jeremy Cheng, Marshall Yan, thank you very much for this. Thanks.
Thank you.